Okay, so let me share my screen. So I just want to show you what my timeline is looking like and what we intend to do. And my screen shaking. Can you see my the Word document?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the plan is for today, we're going to start with Agile, right? And hopefully we finish talking about Agile, we'll delve into Scrum, we start Scrum. I'm hoping that by tomorrow we'll finalize Scrum. Then on Thursday, we talk about all the nuances that comes with Scrum, all those other things that you don't see in the guide that actually you need to know, right? We talk about definition of done, definition of ready, the user stories, acceptance criteria, estimation in Agile, versus the traditional estimations. We talk about velocity, the communication and collaboration tool. I'm hoping that we'll not have a class on Friday. So that's what I'm targeting, right? So hopefully we finish all this. Then we have Friday to do, revisions, go through what we've done. Then on Monday, so by the time you're going on Friday, you'll get some assignment. On Thursday, you should get like a little initiative just for you to work on, bring something on board on Monday, right? So we'll now start the simulation on Monday, starting for when you start a project, when you kick off a project, what do you need to do? How do you start the Scrum, and also if you meet up in between it, what you should do. So we'll run a simulation like an end-to-end next week, Monday to Thursday. So that's what the plan is, right? So just for you to have an idea of what the plan is and what we'll be doing, okay? Any question? Okay, so let me share my screen again. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Great.
Yes.
Okay. So yesterday we talked about product management. We talked about what is product management, what is a product, the forms of product managers, the difference between product and project managers. We'll talk about product lifecycle and activities of a product manager and product owner. Right? So remember what a product manager is intersection between US, tech, and business. We talk about what is a product. We can have both the physical or virtual product. You can have software or hardware, tech-related products, right? The classification of product as well is business products. We use ERP as an example. We have industry product that's focused on either financial, health, energy, depending on the industry. We use the health sector as an example for electronic health record application. We have the customer type. Is it a B2B? Is it a B2C? Consumer product type, right? That started from marketing. We have convenience, shopping, specialty, and unsought products. We talk about the forms of product managers, internal PMs, B2B PMs, B2C PMs. Internal, you're dealing with employees, B2B, business to business, B2C, business to customers. We talk about the common product manager roles. We can have product manager role, product owner role, growth product manager, technical product manager, platform product manager. These are some of the things we talked about. If you still have questions, you can watch the video again, or you can send in your questions for us to look at and discuss, okay? We talk about the difference between product manager and a project manager. Product manager focuses on the goal. Project manager delivers a project based on timeline, budget, and agreed scope. When you're thinking of product manager, think of uncertainty. It's not certain. In project management, there is structure. right? There's structure already, there are things in place, right? And we give examples of where you need a project manager during mergers and acquisition, during construction project, you need project managers, okay? We talked about the product life cycle, right? How you introduce a product to the market, you expect it to grow, then you expect it to mature, you keep making it, you keep improving it so that it can stay in the maturity stage, so that it can be competitive, but at the point where that doesn't happen anymore, then it starts declining. We talk about the product development process, where how you conceive ideas, how you plan, how you develop those ideas, how you continue to iterate them till you launch them into, into the public. We talk about some of the roles of product manager and the product owner. What differentiates them? When you hear things like product owner, what are the roles what are the activities you're expected to perform, right? Creating visions, roadmap, product backlog, release planning. So we focus on that. Product managers, like here, they see you as the chief product owner, right? And in some organization, it can be used interchangeably. For product manager, you focus on ideas, strategic direction, making a business case, advocating for funding for the product, go-to-market strategy, those are the things you're working on. You make decision either to retire the product, okay? We talk about how to plan a product roadmap. You start with the vision. You strategize your strategy, you put your plans together. You have a roadmap, release plan, and a backlog, right? We talk about how you can put your vision together. We have 3 different ways you can put your vision together. We have the vision board, we have the elevator pitch, and we have the vision box. We talk about the strategy. There are different ways as well: business models, personnel, competitive analysis, initiative, and goals. For the business model, we talk about that you can use you can use the business canvas, you can use the Porter 5 forces, you can use the 10 marketing matrix, any of those ones, right? Anything that has to do with where you can talk about your business, your value propositions, the key activity, your revenue streams, what are your customer relationship or the power of your customers and things like that. So that's using that business model to determine your strategy. You can also use competitive analysis to determine your strategy, because when you do a competitive analysis, it can show you what your strengths will be, what you are going to be focusing on as an organization, right? What your strength, what your opportunities are, where you want to make your product unique, right? It can help you. It makes it visible, right? You can also use personnel. I said this one is very common as well, because especially when you have a UX UI designer on your team, it's very common. You're going to see this a lot, right? So it helps you to determine the features of your product, right? Because you are putting personnel in place to help you determine that, okay, this is what this set of people might like. So based on what this set of people might like, using Alexander as an example, I can write features that surround Alexander. Okay. I mentioned that some organization will use goals, right? So we want to increase revenue by 30%. What are the things we want to do to make sure that we increase our revenue by 30%? Or we want to we use Twitter Space as an example yesterday. One of their goals, or they want to retain their customer base on Twitter. So what can we do, right, to retain our customer base on Twitter? And they decided to release a feature called Twitter Space for people that are not interested in typing, so that they can go on Twitter Space and discuss, right? So that's a goal, right? That's using a goal to determine what the features are. And as a product manager, you should also be ready to put your product development roadmap in place, right? Your product development roadmap will show you what you want to do, right, in terms of the epics and the features, right? And it will show you how you want to release it, what are your plans, right? So it's very important, because by the time you show it to your leaders, it's very clear to them what you are trying to do. They can see all the details of what you want to do, when you want to go to market, when you want to release the product, what are your plans and all that. And it's also very good for the product team, especially for the Scrum team, to see what it looks like in terms of the roadmap, and that is what is going to be in your product backlog. We talked about breaking the features of it from your roadmap, right? having a team. Then from there, we start having epics. Epics are like large stories, right? And you start breaking those epics into stories, right? Some stories might also have subtasks. I showed you what that looks like in Jira. We have epics, and each of those epics have stories on that. We use the large team support. This is an example of an epic. The large team support now have stories TIS 46, TIS 42, TIS 40, TIS 44, all these are stories under the epic called large team support. And I said I will show you when we are doing simulation how to put this together. And I also mentioned that you can put a 6 month product development timeline together. Some people do 3 months, some people do 6 months, depending on who the product manager is. Some are very detailed. They want to have all the details in place. They want to plan ahead. But some we just do like a 3 month, right? Because at the end of the day, you're still going to be reviewing it. You're still going to be prioritizing it, right? Okay. So that's where we stopped yesterday. And today we're supposed to start with introduction to Agile. I have about 5 questions I want to ask. Should I do that now or should I later? I think we should do it now just to make that stick, and just to remind us. So just to see, some of the things we were able to get from yesterday. Okay, so we're still gonna do what we used to do. So we're going to use Kahoot. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so I can share the Kahoot, and then we can answer those 6 questions. Then we'll go into Agile. Okay. Okay. So you can go to your kahoot.it and I will give you the pin, okay? Okay, so the pin is 938-778. I see Messi, Kitty Banks, I see you, Tosin, Erica, Banks, Ken, Keith, Charlie, Land, Kenny, Brady, Chin, Abby, Sonny, okay, okay. Just come in. Don't be scared. Just be in, right? Even if you don't get it, at least the fact that you're participating, you remember, right? And I'm sure that you won't forget it after that. Okay. Kahoot.it. So let's come in. Let's come in. When we have 30, we'll start. Okay.
Hi, Florence. I have a question for you.
Okay.
My Kahoot, I used to have it, but it's saying when I open it up now, it's saying visit website. Is that it?
Kahoot.it.
Yes.
It says what?
Okay. No, I think that there was a mistake there. Okay.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
Okay, let's start.
It's your fault now. Treat me. I'm taking for Baraka. We will learn from Lord.
Oh, mute.
Hey, they down, same question, go down.
Please mute yourself if you are talking, okay? So let's start. Product management is the intersection between the following except one. Great. So product management is the intersection between business, technology, and UX. So the cybersecurity is not there at all. Okay. Good job, Chini, Juan, Erika, Kenny. Next question is a true or false question. A product is any item or service you sell to serve a customer's need or wants. Yes, who is saying false? Remember we said the product can be physical, can be virtual, can be hardware, can be software. Well done. John, can you just take the books? Next question. Which of the following is not a major form of product management? Correct. So we have internal, business to customer, business to business. Those are the three major forms of product managers. So foreign is nothing like that. Good job, good job. Good job, Eki, good job. Joan, Chini, Kenny, Lauren, good job. Question 4. Which of the following is not a consumer product application? Which one is not? Wow, hardware is not. Hardware is not. Okay. So I guess some people still forgot that one. Hardware is not. Okay. So answering the question, we make you remember. We have convenience, we have shopping, we have specialty, and we have the unsought. Okay. Tough round. 12 players lost their answer streak of 3. That was a tough round. Okay. Erica, Kenny, well done. Next question. Which of the following is not a stage in the product life cycle? Correct, yes. Market demand is not. We have contribute, we have growth stage, we have maturity stage, and we have the decline stage. Okay, so Lauren just made a remember. Or we have more than 30 people. Question. Good job. Yes, craft board is not part of it. We have 3 ways you can do that. We have the elevator pitch, we have the vision board, and we have the vision box. So craft board is not.
Sorry, Florence. I don't understand why it was putting me at 22 when we started, even though I think I read the right answer. Is that a timing thing?
Yes, it's timing. It's timing or your internet.
Oh, my internet
might not, because the internet is part of it. If your internet is not as fast as some other people's own,
I thought I hit nothing like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and just I can't understand. I'm still like.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As long as you're getting it, you're good. You're good.
Sorry,
Don't worry. It's fine. It's fine. Fastest fingers, internet, a lot of things. Well done, Lauren. Erica.
When am I going to win this?
Don't worry. So don't put it that.
That's okay.
Oh, yeah. It can be intimate. Just for us to just try the questions and get in.
It's a lot of fun, though. Love it.
Okay, great. So now we can go into Agile. Okay, I'm sure my screen is showing and we're good to go. Okay, let's start. So introduction to Agile and deep dive into Scrum framework. So what is Agile? So what we're going to be discussing, what is Agile? Agile manifestos, Agile principles, why Agile, Agile umbrella, Scrum theory, Scrum values, Scrum rules, events and artifacts, and estimations. Okay? So we'll start with Agile, and then we'll continue and see where we can stop at the end of today. Okay? I'm trying to open up the chat box so that I have that handy somewhere. Okay. Inena, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's go straight into it. So what is Agile? Can I have 3 hands up to tell me what Agile is to them? What is Agile? I'm sure most of us have been hearing about Agile. So what does Agile mean to you? Okay, can we have one person? Erica?
Hi, Florence. I would say, to me, Agile it's like an implementation methodology that allows the business to be more responsive to customer needs and market demands. And then it's, and in order to do that, you're focused on creating individual features and then sending that to market for feedback and revision, as opposed to building out the whole solution and then waiting for feedback.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Chuka? Thank you, Erica. Chuka?
Okay, so Agile is basically a framework that is applied in implementing changes, and it puts into consideration iterations, whereby it just delivers the product in pieces, and it doesn't just wait to do a lot of documentation to be able to implement any form of project whatsoever. So it creates a lot of speed. Thank you.
Interesting. Thank you, Chuka. Adeni?
Yeah. Good evening. Yeah, I believe Agile is a form of planning methodology that enables quick iterations, feedbacks, and quick product launch in a way. Because Agile is not like waterfall, where you almost need to get all your requirements together before you start implementation and processing. With Agile, you can get the feedback and continuously produce product, go back to get more feedback and improve on the product you've already created. So it's a way that is more, it's a way that can be faster than the traditional waterfall. Let's say.
Thank you. Debo. So we'll take Debo and one more, then we'll continue. Debo.
Okay, good evening. Agile is, as been said, it's a methodology that allows for incremental and iterative approach, such that a minimum viable product can quickly be produced to reach the market And like that, any feedback you go again in cycle like that until you have what you want. So it's at every iteration, there's like an incremental value added based on feedback, and all other requirements are elicited.
Okay. Thank you. KVZM697. That's what you're showing.
Yeah. That's Ken Francis.
Okay.
My little understanding of Agile is kind of a methodology that I would say that is flexible with the scope, and it deploys the requirement after feedback, not like waterfall that deploys before feedback. So, and it works with time that is done between 2 weeks to a month, but waterfall takes a longer time, which why most of the organizations now go for Agile, because it's fast methodology for them.
Okay, thank you everyone. So I can hear a lot of elements, 2 weeks, flexible, methodology and everything like that. Okay, great. So I'll take it starting, like what is Agile, right? So in a simple thing, right, I would say Agile is just, are you able to move quickly? Are you able to move easily, right? So something quick, something easy. Don't waste time, right? So what is Agile, right? Agile is a mindset, right? Before you start talking about methodology, you're talking about implementation, you have to understand that Agile is a mindset, right? So you have to first focus on being agile, right? Is the foundation of doing Agile. So before you can say I am practicing Agile, I'm doing something in Agile, right? You first need to have that mindset of Agile, right? So you can see on the screen that it's saying that Agile is a mindset that is described by 4 values, defined by 12 principles, and manifested through unlimited number of practices, right? So what you're saying here is that Agile is defined on 4 values and described by 12 principles of the Agile Manifesto. I'm going to explain all that, right? So when you're saying that you're Agile, it means that you uphold those core values. We're going to talk about those values. You uphold those core values, right? And you are guided by those 12 principles, right? So you first need to tune your mindset. Like, you have to be agile in your mindset, right? And remember what agile is, right? Ability to move quickly and easily, right? So your mindset needs to change. It's not about you using that framework or that methodology that changes you, that makes you agile. Is your mindset, right? So you can see one thing I want to be clear is Agile is not just Scrum, right? So Agile is not Scrum, right? Understand that Agile is not Scrum, okay? So when you talk about Agile, you're talking about having a mindset of being quick, right? That's what you're trying to portray here. But for you to say you have that mindset, you must uphold these core values, the 4 values and the 12 principles, right? So you can see that iceberg, right? It's showing you that if you look at the iceberg, it's showing you that principles, values, mindset, those things, they are key to being agile, right? They are very key to being agile. So you need to understand those values, right? You need to understand the principles, right? Are you upholding those values and principles? So before you can say you're agile, it's not by you doing, you can see the top of the iceberg, it's showing you practices and tools. It's not by you doing those practices, right? It's not by you using Scrum, by you using Kanban, by you using SAFe. It's by you having that mindset of being agile. You understand the values and the principle, but you will now manifest them through those practices and the tools, right? So that's what it means by being agile. So when you talk about being agile, it is people-centric. You are dealing with people. It is people-centric, okay? So that is what Agile is, right? So when you think Agile, think my mindset needs to change, right? I need to uphold the 4 values. I need to be guided by those 12 principles, okay? Before you now even say, I'm using Scrum, I'm using Kanban, all those ones are frameworks, right? But Agile itself is a mindset, okay? So let's talk about the history of Agile, right? So it started from 1913, right? That was when Henry Ford developed the first assembly line, right, in Michigan, right? So at that time, the concept was very revolutionary. What that means is that when, because prior to that time, right, there was nothing called production line, right? So remember then, I think when they want to make cars, you know, they like, you know, okay, for example, to make a car, right, you have to have the chassis, you have to have the tires, you have to have the furniture, you have to have the glass and all that, right? It was taking a longer time to build, right? So because they moved through, they'll say, okay, the chassis is ready, okay, let's go and get the tire, let's make it. So it was taking so long a time. It took them to actually build a car, right? It takes them 10 hours. So what Henry Ford did then was to reduce the production line. There was something new that was introduced into our lexicon. It was called the flow of production, right? So that was the period when we started having something we call the production line. So it reduced that 10 hours to actually build a car to 1.5 hours, right? So that was when this whole lean management, right, process improvement started, right? It was in 1913 when Henry Ford started that production line. So what that means is that there was now a production line that for every process, there was a step-by-step way of doing things, right? So to get the chassis of the car, there was a step. When the chassis is done, move it. What do you need next? You need the tire. Okay, the chassis goes to the tire, they fix the tire. What do you need there? You need the furniture. It goes to the furniture. So there was like a step-by-step process so that everything is transparent, is easy, right? So that was what happened then in 1913. Then the next innovation or revolution also happened in 1948, Toyota. I know a lot of people have heard about the Toyota production system, the TPS, right? So what happened then was also it was also a journey to reduce the assembly line as well, right? So it was also almost the same thing as what happened in 1913 with Ford systems, right? The same thing happened again with Toyota in 1948, right? And they called that the social technical system. So what they were trying to do then, they were trying to recognize that there is an interaction between technology and people, right? So they were not saying that let's focus on 3 things, right? To make our work easier, to make our work smooth, right? So they focused on 3 things that they called Muri, Mura, and Muda, right? Muri was like, don't overburden the system and the people. Make the flow of work very easy. Make it transparent. So something like a process improvement. Let us see the work. Let's say, okay, after the chassis, what do we do next? We do the tires. After the tires, what do we do next? We do the windshield. You know, like make the process very clear. The Mura was like smoothing out unevenness. So what is causing problem? What are causing delay? Can you remove them along the way? Make the process smooth. Let it be clear. There is nothing, you know, that is being a disruption or a blocker along the way. Then the last one was Muda. Muda was elimination of waste. Like there's so much waste within the system. Can we remove those waste? So that was what they were focusing on. So even though the 3 were important, they focused more on Muda, right? So during that time, they identified the 7 types of waste that they identified that can happen during a production system. They said they can be inventory, waiting time, defect, sometimes it's overproduction, over-processing. Like they documented all those ways. They call them 7 types of waste. They are saying that let's eliminate those wastes so that our processes can be leaner, so that they continue to improve the process by eliminating those wastes and making the process leaner, right? So that we can deliver things faster, right? So that was what they did. So imagine where you work in your organization. Sometimes you want to get something done. They'll say you need approval. Imagine your manager will approve, then it will go again to your senior manager to approve. Sometimes they say, no, you have to get to the SVP for approval. Like, there's so much waste within the system, right? Waiting just to get approval to get something done, you know? So modal was what they were saying there, that let's eliminate this waste within our system. So this continued like that for over 30 years, right? So in 1988, Lean was also mentioned again. People continue to work on Lean management, process improvement. It continued that way, right? Then in 1986, there was something we call the New Product Development Game, right? It was Harvard Business School that released the article. And what were they saying? They were saying that there's a new way of developing products right now, right? And when they wrote that article, they wrote it in such a way that they say they likened it like, for you to develop products, right? You have to use the rugby. They use the rugby game, right, to showcase that idea. They're saying that teams are coming together instead of a relay race, right? You know, in a relay race, you hand your baton. When someone finishes running, you hand the baton to someone else to continue. When that person finishes, you hand the baton to someone else. So when you think of relay handing baton, think of waterfall. When I'm done with planning, I'll pass it to development team. When development is done with coding, they'll pass it to testing. When testing is done with testing all the requirements, everything, then they'll pass it to production. Then production release. That's what a relay looks like, right? But they now said that the new way of developing product is like a rugby game. Everybody comes together, right? They work together to finish that endeavor, right? To achieve that common goal. They don't do it separately. They are coming together to do that. So that was released in 1986. Then that continued like that for a long time. Then in 1990, different software methodology is being conceived. So what happened then is that a lot of people now realize that relay way of implementing software. So now we are into software now. You know, before it started from production lines, right? Lean management, process improvement. But the software development were having issues. They were saying that we cannot continue the way we had developing product. It's not working for us. How can we develop something? And by the time we finish, the customer will keep telling us that, oh, they don't want to use it anymore, or that is not what they actually wanted. It's not working for us, right? So they started conceiving different methodologies. They started having different ones. That was when XP came out, Roop came out, Scrum came out, right? A lot of things were coming out. Different groups were coming on board with different framework, with different software methodology in 1990. Then in 1995, there was like a paper presentation, right? Where people come together to now present. So I think it was a software, like a technology meeting where people come to present, right? So in 1995, Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schreiber, they now presented a paper, right? They were describing the Scrum framework, right? They had a business object design and implementation workshop. When you talk of design and implementation, just think software, how they do design and implement stuff, right? Object designs, right? So they presented that paper and said that this is how they've been operating, right? Jeff was working in another company, Ken was working in another company, but they came together to present that paper, right? So they continued that way, but at the end of the day, it got to a point, everyone was just tired, right? They wanted something, they wanted to put their heads together and put something together that this should be our new ways of working. So in 2001, 17 thought leaders, they met together in Utah, right? They came together, they now presented something, right? They had many methodologies, right? You know those methodologies that we're talking about, Roop, SP, feature-driven, they had all those ones, they had Scrum, everything. So they presented it. So what were they thinking? Why did the thought leader come together? They are saying that the goal was for them to find answer to the challenges they are having with the traditional software development. There was a challenge. We don't want to do it that way anymore. So they came up with that meeting for them to find a solution. They were frustrated with that waterfall approach. They said, no, we can't continue to do this. Let's come together. Let's find a solution, right? So they had that 2-day summit, right? To say, okay, this is it. They were listening to one another. They came up with a lot of words. Some will say, okay, we want something that is lightweight, something that is adaptive, right? So everybody had different way they were thinking, but they still had a consensus, right? Because they know what they want. They wanted something that is quick, something that is fast enough, right? Something that is also easy. At the end of the day, they had a lot of names, but they all came together. They all formed a consensus and they settled for the word agile, right? So every one of them now, when you do something, everybody is bringing ideas, brainstorming and all that. But at the end of the day, they now said, okay, they settled for the word agile, right? So when they finished, they said that the software development should be able to adapt to changing environment and nature, right? So it's not like because you are developing something and you've gathered the requirement 2 years ago and you are still working on it, but you know that they won't need that stuff you are developing anymore, but you are still working on it because you want to deliver. You should be able to adapt to the changing environment and nature. So that was what the software thought leaders were talking about, right? Now that group was now established. Those 17 people, those are the people you can see on your screen, right? We have Kent, Alisa, James, Ron, Robert, Jeff was part of it. Ken Schwab was part of it. Schwaber was part of it as well. They all came together. They now established that coalition. They now called it the Agile Alliance, right? So they called it the Agile Alliance Coalition, right? So that is how Agile started, getting very popular, right? They now said that for you to be part of that Agile Alliance, right? For you to say that you are part of that Agile Alliance or you use that methodology, way of working, you have to agree to the 4 values because they came up with those core values. So while the thought leaders were having those meetings during that workshop, that summit, they came up with the 4 core values, right? And the 12 principles, right? So before you know it, Agile began to gain significant traction. A lot of businesses started using Agile. Everybody started believing that, these Agile values and principles is what we need for our business because things are just getting too slow. Now, even if you look at PMI, right? If you look at PMI ACP, right? At the back of that book, right? Because PMI wrote a book on Agile, Certified Professional, right? At the back of that book, you will see Agile Alliance because the basis of writing that book is based on the Agile Alliance, right? If you also go to IIBA Agile, if you try to write IIBA, Business Analysis Agile Examination, if you get the book, you also see it at the back of the book that it is based on Agile Alliance. So all those Agile, people writing about Agile or all those frameworks that are coming out, right? They are all based on that Agile Alliance of what those 17 thought leaders have put together, right? Because they are the one that came up with those 4 core values, right? And which now became our Agile manifestos, right? And they also documented those 12 principles, right? Now the team got excited. They even declared, they had like a declaration of interdependence in 2005. Everyone was happy. It started getting popular. And there were lots of methodologies. We have the Scrum, XP, Kanban. Everybody was happy. But remember, that Agile was just a means to an end, right? It doesn't mean that Agile is what you are delivering. It's just a way of you getting what you need to do done, right? So it's just a way of doing stuff, right? But one of the major issues they had then was that Agile was very good for teams, right? But in the enterprise level, it was not achieving the goal. It was easier on a team level, right? So in 2005, they started coming up with different enterprise framework as well that you can help for a larger organization. So what I mean by larger organization, if you have a large team or you have different teams working on the same product, like you have let's say, they'll tell you a Scrum team should not be more than 10 or something, but you have about 40 people working on the same product. So how do you plan, right? So they now start thinking of enterprise framework. That's when you start hearing about things like SAFe, things like less, right? All those ones start coming up as well, right? So that is how Agile, that's just a bit synoptic of how Agile started, right? So if you want to learn more, you can research more about them, look at those 17 thought leaders up and see what their discussions were about, how they finally came to decide that they will go with Agile and all that. So that is what, that's just like a view of how this, Agile became popular over the years. Any question? Chuk and Debo, is that from the last time? Your hands
yes.
are...
I'll drop it. I'll drop the hand.
Okay. Any question? Okay. So now we understand a bit of the history, right? So we know where Agile is coming from. So when you just see around Agile started from software. So you have an idea why most of the Agile rules, Scrum rules that you see around are more in technology, because that is where it started from. Even though it's lean management, process improvement started from manufacturing, right? So, but Scrum, Agile, that word, it started from, technology. Okay, so these are the Agile values, right? So now, remember I said they came together and they developed these Agile values, what we call our Agile manifestos. So what were they thinking? They said, we are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. Through this work, we have come to value. So what they are saying is that we value, right, what the items on the right more than we value items on the left. So they are not saying that the items on the left, you won't do it. You will do it. You don't even have a choice. You have to do it. But what they are saying is that we value the items on the right more than the items on the left. So when people say that, oh, in Agile, when you do Agile, you don't need documentation, that's not true. Or some people tell you when you do Agile, you don't need to do any negotiation. That's not true. That is totally not true. Some will tell you when you are doing Agile, you don't need to plan. Really? You don't need to plan? No way. You have to plan. But what they are saying is that we prefer what is on the right over what is on the left. Don't go there on the interview and tell them that because you're doing Agile, you don't have to plan. Who says so? Nobody. You are going to plan, right? But what they are saying is that we prefer what we have on the left more than what we have on the right. So remember I said those 17 software thought leaders came up with this, right? Now they're saying that the first one, individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So what they are saying that they prefer people to interact, find a better way to do things, yeah? They prefer it, right, than process and tools. You just put processes in place, put tools in place. Let's talk together, let's interact. If not for COVID, when Scrum actually started, they used to have a war room. They used to have something called war room. Every one of you will be, I'm going to show you a video when we are doing our simulation. Every one of you will be working together from the same room. The team members, every one of you is in the same room. That's what Agile, that's what they were preaching, right? Interaction between everyone than over processes and tools, right? They said they prefer a working software over documentation, right? Focus on a working product, something the business can use. Not every time you are documenting, right? Because sometimes you write documentation, business case, business requirement, BRG document, but at the end of the day, it's not going anywhere. The software you're building is not working. The users will not even use it, right? So they're saying no, right? They prefer to focus on something, a working software that continue to do a lot of documentation, right? Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. What are they saying here is that they prefer to collaborate with the customer than keep negotiation. You know, in Waterfall, when you want to negotiate with the customer, you even go to your procurement department, you tell them, please, can you read this contract? Can you dot the T's and the I's, right? They will say, oh, if the vendor does not make payment at so days, please stop those kind of contract wordings that they are looking at every details. But what Agile is saying that when we are developing software, we prefer to collaborate together. Let's we and the customer be collaborate. Let the customer be seeing what I'm building. Let's work together so I can give the customer what they can actually use, not just building something and they will not use it at the end of the day. The last one of the value is that we respond to change that following a plan. You know, I said that in Agile, you still have to plan, but it doesn't mean that that plan cannot change. In waterfall, before when your plan wants to change, it's trouble. They say do impact. How does it impact the cost? How does it impact the scope? Oh, let's go to change control board. Oh my God, is it going to be approved? Oh God, you understand? But when you're working in an Agile environment, they're saying, let's discuss. The customer say, no, actually, I don't want it to have a white background. I actually want it to have a black background. The team will go back, work on it, and make it a black background. They are responding to change. They are not saying, oh, if you change to a black background, it's going to take us more changes. Oh, how does that affect the cost, right? So they are not doing all that. They are responding to change. They are not going through a long process to actually get that change, right? That's what they mean by responding to change, because they are focusing on the business, how the business will use that product, not focusing on this is the plan, we must finish it, right? So that's what the Agile values are, right? And for you to say you're an Agile person, for you to say you work in an Agile environment, you need to uphold these values, right? They need to be part of you. So when you are working, you need to be thinking of these are the things you need to focus on. How you collaborate with your customer, how you respond to change, right? So that's what these 17 thought leaders put together and say, this is what we're going to use to work within an Agile environment. So if you say you're practicing Agile, you need to embrace these values. Okay? Question? Do you know of Agile being used successfully on a construction project? My understanding is that waterfall is used as a project. Yes. Remember we were talking about the difference between product and project management yesterday? Yes. Construction is more waterfall. You can do, how do you want to do Agile? So we put a plan together. The architect, the surveyor, they've done the work. They now said, okay, we're building this. They now say in your basement, you can't have a door. So you now come later. Maybe they finish the basement. They are now building the first one. I say, I want a door in the basement. Really? Do you think we'll be able to go back and change it? No. Right? So in some industry, it might be difficult to use Agile, right? Agile started from from software development, but it's moving to other areas, other industry as well. But it doesn't mean that it's cut across everywhere. It doesn't mean so, right? In construction, I've not seen Agile. They might start having an Agile mindset in terms of they try to do things quickly, faster, but using that Agile methodology, I've not seen that in construction. Okay. Any other questions? So we understand the Agile values, right? They are very key, right? Because when you start looking for roles, these are the things they want to find out that you understand, right? They want to know you understand what the values are, what the principles are, right? Everything is not about Scrum. You need to understand what Agile is, right? Okay, so Agile principles, right? So these are the 12 principles. So remember we said that for you to say you have an Agile mindset, for you to say you're doing Agile, right? You must uphold those core values, right? And you must be guided by these 12 principles. So the first principle says that customer satisfaction is our highest priority, meaning our highest priority is to satisfy the customer. So how do you satisfy the customer? You want to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software, right? You want to do it early. Remember what Agile is? Quick, easy, right? You want to do it early, continuous delivery of valuable software. Remember when we did project management and we did the scenario of two companies, company A and company B. Remember when company B was delivering early, right? They delivered some of the product early, then they continue to improve on those functionality of the product, right? So if you wait to have everything you need, you are not being agile. You are just being fragile, right? So you want to quickly, yes, you can fail, no problem, right? So you continue to deliver to the business, right? And then you keep improving on it, right? So that's what they say, that customer satisfaction is our highest priority, right? The second one is saying Changing requirements are always welcome. What are they saying here? They're saying welcoming changes requirements, even late in development, is welcome. So that means we've started working, maybe we are almost done, and they said that the requirement is going to change. Yeah, you welcome it if you really have that agile mindset, right? Because agile processes are next changes for customers' competitive advantage. Because they understand that while the customer wants this change, it might be important to them. It might be their competitive edge. So they understand that they need to change it. So even if the changes are coming late, they need to still change it, right? Your goal is to satisfy the customer. Remember, you see how this link back to the first one. Your goal is to satisfy the customer, right? Remember when Uber Eats came out, right? You remember that it was first Uber, right? Everybody was very used to Uber. Then pandemic started. You couldn't even go to the restaurant to buy food. And before you know it, Uber Eats became a popular demand, like it was really in demand because everybody wants to order food and get home. And they quickly adapted to it, right? So remember then, they will say, okay, because people are not allowed to go out, Ubers are not making money. But before you know it, Uber Eats was saying, all those people doing Uber, you can come and become drivers for Uber Eats. Like, they quickly changed, right? They quickly welcome those new changes, right? So what am I saying is that you are trying to satisfy your customer. So anything that will give you a competitive advantage, that the customer is saying, let's change it because it's going to help us. It's going to make us stay in business. It's going to make us be ahead of our competitor. You welcome it as the development team to get it done. Okay, frequent delivery of working software. It means that you are delivering something frequently, frequent delivery. You see? So that's why some of those frameworks, they are following these principles because this is what the principle says, right? So those frameworks has to align with these principles. Like you have to deliver frequently. Let's look at Scrum, for example. Scrum will say you must deliver in 2 weeks or within 4 weeks or within 3 weeks, right? They are following this principle. They are being guided by this principle that you must deliver frequently, right? But they prefer a shorter time. So a shorter time might be maybe 1 week, within 2 weeks. Deliver something on time, right? Working together on a daily basis. What did we say? Remember that value that said you should work together, right? Business people and developers must work together throughout the project. So it's like all of you are one big family. So business people will not just come and sit down and say, okay, development team, do the work. So why did you do it like this? That role is not to be questioning you. Everyone is working together to achieve the same goal. That's what Agile is saying, right? He said, trust and support the team to get the job done. Give proper environment. He said that build projects, build it around motivated individuals. Give them the environment, support their needs. Don't micromanage people. Trust them, empower them to get the job done. In Agile, your biggest asset is the people, not the process, right? When you're doing Agile, I said they are people-centric. So your people is your biggest asset. So be like a theory X manager. Don't be like a theory Y manager. If you do project management, you understand what I mean by theory X and theory Y manager, So you don't need to micromanage people. In Agile, that's why when Scrum will tell you, Scrum will say the team is cross-functional. The team is self-managing. As a Scrum Master, I know there are a few Scrum Masters here. I'll start calling your name when we start getting into Scrum. Don't allow people to interfere. Your job as a Scrum Master is to shield the team from external forces. Is to let the organs know that you cannot call Bumi out of this project because Bumi is dedicated to this project. That is if Bumi is a dedicated resource to that project. So as a Scrum Master, you need to understand these principles. You need to know when to apply them, right? So remember, you don't micromanage, you trust them, you empower them to get the job done. Face-to-face conversation between the team. So they said the most efficient way is to have face-to-face conversation Well, unfortunately, there is COVID. We cannot have face-to-face conversation again. Everything is online now. But you can have face-to-face conversation online. Set up a meeting. Your team is having an issue. Set up a meeting with them, right? Have the team come together. Let's discuss. So in Agile, they prefer to have a conversation instead of you sending long email. No, we prefer to have discussion. Let's talk. We meet every day. Let's discuss. What is the issue? What is stopping you from getting this job done, right? So let's discuss, okay? So that is what one of the Agile principles. Working software is the measure of progress. In Agile, if you like, write documentation for 3 months, you've not achieved anything. In Agile, the software you are building, it is working. That is how we measure your progress. Is it working? Has it delivered what it needs to deliver? Yes, then you are doing well, right? Do you remember when company B achieved something in 3 months? In 8 months, company A is still writing documents, going through development, doing all that. They've not delivered anything. You can't measure them. You can't say that they've progressed. While company B has already delivered to the market, they've captured the market share, right? So that in Agile, they tell you that a working software is the primary measure of progress, right? Sustainable development, right? You make sure that you are not taking too much. Sustainable. That's why I will still talk about that. You know, you'll be hearing about it like velocity. What can the team do within that certain period, right? Don't overload the team. Let them be able to do what they can do, because if the team is not happy, they don't put in all their mind, right? So sustainable. What can we do in 2 weeks? Another 2 weeks, what can we do? Don't overburden the team, right? Continuous attention to technical excellence and good design. So they say you should pay attention, right, to technical excellence. So you don't have a technical debt, because when you have a technical debt, it will show at the end of the day. You have a lot of issues, a lot of bugs that you need to work on, a lot of things, defects you need to work on. So pay attention to technical excellence. Pay attention to good design. Remember when we did that UX UI design, right? Pay attention, listen to your customer, do your surveys. Which one do they prefer, right? That's when you pay attention, right, to good design. You know that by the time your customer use this design, they will fall in love with it, because you gather their requirements, you show them, and they decided which one they will prefer to work with. Maintain simplicity. There is a rule called Pareto principle. They will tell you that most of the time, you should focus on 20%, because at the end of the day, sometimes you gather requirements you gather almost 80% requirement. But at the end of the day, they will not even use more than 33% of the requirement. So why not focus on that 33%, right? So that you can quickly deliver what they need, right? So because about 20% of the things you provide, most of the times, you know, they might not even use it, right? So why not focus on the most important one? Simplicity. Get it done, right? Instead of trying to do everything at once, okay? So that's what Agile is talking about. The best results come from self-organizing team. You can see. So Agile is saying, let the team be self-organizing, that you will get the best of results from them, right? Let them get the job done. You will get the best result when they organize themselves. And the last one says, reflect and adjust regularly and accordingly. So reflect and adjust regularly. And that's why you see Scrum. They will tell you that, okay, we are doing inspection and adaptation. We need to meet every day. We need to be transparent, right? So reflect and adjust regularly accordingly. Agile did not say meet every day. Agile is just telling you reflect at regular interval. Think, right? Think and say, this is how we want to improve our interaction, our processes. Reflect on how you want to become more effective. But they didn't say have daily Scrum. They didn't say that. Scrum is now the framework, now using this Agile principle to guide that. They are depending on this principle and values. So now they now say, okay, Scrum, if you can put this framework together, it will uphold these core values and it will be guided by these principles. So that's what Scrum is all about. But what Agile is saying, that reflect regularly. That's why even if Scrum says daily Scrum, you see some people, they might not be practicing Scrum, but they are still doing reflect and adjust regularly within their organization. because they are still practicing that agile principles. Okay? So those are the 12 principles you must be guided by. Any question? Any question?
No questions from me. Thanks, Florence.
Okay, great. So we've talked about the agile values, agile principles. So agile expansion. So as I said earlier, agile started in software development, but it is now applied in a lot of areas of business, right? It's applied in agile, in marketing, in product development, not just in software, in general business agility, even in human resource now. They are doing a lot of agile in the ways they work, so it's expanding really fast. And that's why you see a lot of jobs, they'll say, oh, agile, they want to understand agile, they want to understand Scrum and all that, right? So agile is expanding a lot. So before you know it, there is no job that will be out there, especially except for the industries that you cannot apply agile, right? But before you know it, most organizations, most industry out there, you have to have agile understanding. You have to understand that agile for you to be able to work within their environment. So why agile? Why agile, right? So these are some of the reasons why people now want to do agile, right? Customer first product thinking mindset, right? They want to focus on the customer because they understand that customer is the king. So they want to focus on customer and say, this is why we are doing agile, because agile gives them that flexibility for them to have interactions with customers. So they are having like relationship with the business. So agile gives them that flexibility. So they start thinking customer first. Customer is king. So that's one of the reasons why people do agile. Another reason why people do agile is faster time to delivery, right? Faster time to delivery. So it's not like someone stole your idea, right? It's just that, there's something they say, everyone help those who help themselves, right? So it's like, remember company A and company B, right? You see how company B was very fast, right? So it just gives them that first move advantage, right? Customers respond to those who are fast. You get what I'm saying? Because company B is now in the market, the customer can now be discussing and saying, oh, can you add this feature? Can you make this one this way, right? Because customer will respond to them, right? So it's faster time to delivery. That's why a lot of people are now doing agile. Minimize exposure to risk. So how does it minimize exposure to risk? Look at it. It reduces risk, right? Remember company A. Company A will deliver after 8 months. When they now finish delivering, it will not still meet customer expectation, right? So what's the point? Why not let me deliver in 3 months, right? Let me see what the customer is saying. Let me feel their pulse. Let me say, okay, they like what we are building. No, they don't like what we are building. Can we make it better? Than waiting till 8 months' time. So it's minimizing that exposure, right, to risk. Another thing is engagement and team creativity. Remember one of the core values that says individual interaction over processes, right? So when people are together, when you give them that opportunity to discuss, to engage, there is a lot of creativity. Ideas come, right? If I say we want to do something now, and I give all of us to work together, you will see different ideas coming on board, right? You will see different creativity happening. You will see different suggestions coming on board, right? So that's what Agile helps with, right? And remember that the market is very volatile, right? So things are changing so fast. So you cannot be wasting time and building something for a customer that before you know it, things will change, right? So there is no point. So the market is very volatile, right? And failing fast and learning from it, right? Let us know. I have an idea. I'm conceiving an idea. Okay, let's plan, let's develop, let's launch it. It's better for me to quickly launch it, right? And know if that stuff will not be successful. That means to be planning 2 years. When I now finish and now release, it's now not successful. I've wasted my 2 years. But conceive that idea quickly put it in motion, put it out there. Let's know if you're going to be successful. If you're not successful, let's learn from it and go and do something else, right? So that's why Agile is important. Agile is very key, right? So those are some of the reasons why we do Agile. So Agile planning. So what it says is that in preparing for battle, I have always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable, right? So what that is just saying is that upfront, so when you plan upfront, it's never perfect. You are still going to plan, but it's not going to be perfect. But you will keep planning. You need to keep planning, right? So your plan is not just plan, it's a living document. You keep planning, right? So it's saying that in preparing for battle, I have always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. So for you to win that battle, you need to keep planning. So one of Agile principles says that responding to change is a key principle of Agile, right? So you need to keep planning. And that's one of the things Scrum has emulated, it's one of these Agile principles, right? And you know, they said they have sprint planning. Every time there's something called sprint planning, because you need to keep planning so that you can stay winning, okay? Now, let's look at this. Now we understand Agile. We know what Agile is, right? We know that we need to uphold the values, the 4 core values, and we need to be guided by the 12 principles. So we know what Agile is, right? Now, what is Scrum? Because every time we say Scrum, what is actually Scrum, right? We've already said that Agile is not Scrum. So what is Scrum? So Scrum is just a methodology. It's just like a framework, right, for implementing Agile, for saying that I am doing Agile, right? I am doing Agile. But remember, we already said that Agile is a mindset. So before you are saying you are doing Agile, you first need to have that mindset, right? So you need to be guided by the principle. You need to uphold the core values, right? Now, for you to now put it in practice, remember we said that you now use practices and tools to unfold the Agile, to show that you are doing Agile. So now these are the things you use to do that. These are the practices, the methodologies and framework you use to do it. So on a team level, you use Scrum. You use something called Kanban. You can use something called Scrum Ban. Scrum Ban is just combination of Scrum and Kanban. You can use XP. There is FDD. There is BDD. There is TDD. I told you that there are a lot of them, right? So this is what you can use to actually practice Agile. Now, on the enterprise level, right, when you now have multiple teams working on the same product, you can now start using a portfolio framework like SAVE. That's the Scale Agile framework. You start doing things called Scrum of Scrums, right? So you have different Scrum team, right? You now come together. You're now doing something called Scrum of Scrum, discipline, Agile delivery, less, right? Those are ways that you can practice Agile on a portfolio level, right? And on the team level, you use Scrum Kanban. So you can see the relationship between Agile and Scrum now. You first need to have Agile mindset. You first need to uphold those core values. You need to understand the principle before you can start practicing Scrum. Because if you don't understand it, you'll be wondering why we are doing Scrum. You'll be wondering why we have to meet every day. Why do we have to do this? But because you understand the principle of reflect and adapt is one of the principles of Agile. So when Scrum put it into a framework of how you should go about it so that you can be guided by that principle, then you understand why you're doing that. Okay, so this is the relationship between Scrum and Agile. So why are we deep diving into Scrum? Why did I decide that we are going to deep dive into Scrum? Why didn't I pick other methodologies? Why did I say we're going to deep dive into Scrum? We're deep diving into Scrum because most organization uses Scrum to practice Agile, right? We have other ones that they use. We have Kanban, we have Scrumban, we have hybrid methodologies, mean that a lot of people will combine different things and they will start practicing their Agile. We have Scrum SP, we have internally created method. But believe me, Scrum is the most popular framework, most used framework. Anywhere you go, it is Scrum. Now, all those little ones that we have along the way, sometimes they are even practicing Scrum, but they will not say, oh, it's Scrum, but we build it to suit our organization. Because they've changed it, we can't call it Scrum anymore. That's why we call it something else, right? Because they've changed it to suit their organization. But it is still Scrum. You get to say, but these people, like, they are practicing Scrum. But it's one thing or two things that will change. It will now not be Scrum anymore. Because for you to practice Scrum, you have to practice Scrum in its entirety, right? You cannot say, oh, I'm not doing this part of Scrum, I'll do this part of Scrum. No, you have to practice in entirety. But if you're not doing it, then you now carve your own. But you will see that most organizations still do that element of Scrum. But Scrum is the most popular one. So that's why we are deep diving into Scrum. Because if you know Scrum, you'll be comfortable with any other one that come along the way. Okay? Any question?
Yes.
I hope we are understanding it.
Yeah. So if you can just summarize, if you don't mind, what you consider the main differences and similarities between Scrum and Agile, so that I'm pretty clear that I got what you had said about it. Just in summary, what their differences are and their similarities. Thank you.
Okay. I just said this, like, the Agile is a mindset, right? The principles, you need to be guided by those principles. You need to understand the core values, right? Look at this. Agile is a mindset described by these 4 values, guided by these 12 principles, but manifested through unlimited number of practices. Scrum is one of the ways you manifest Agile. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
Scrum is one of the ways you manifest that Agile. But for you to say you have an Agile, you are Agile, or you are doing Agile, you first need to have that mindset. You need to uphold the values, and you need to be guided by those 12 principles. Okay? Then for you to now manifest it, right, you will now use Scrum.
Okay.
And you can use other things as well. You can use Kanban, you can use Scrumban, you can use XP. There is FGD, there are a lot, but Scrum is the most popular one and is what most organizations uses. So that's why we are deep diving into Scrum. Okay?
Appreciate that. Thank you. So Scrum is the dad and the rest of them are like kids. Got it.
Okay. Benita.
So my question is regarding Asana. So Asana mostly look like Kanban, wherein you have something like boxes which you can move in, but it also follows Scrum. So what we have to call it?
I say Asana like Jira. They are tools. Okay?
Okay.
They are tools. Yeah. So you have Jira, you have people use Rally, you have people use Asana. Those are tools. Okay? Okay? So remember when we talked about the fact that when you want to practice Agile, you manifest them through practices and tools, right? Practices and tools. Okay?
Okay.
That's how you manifest them. But before you manifest them, you have that principle, values, and mindset. Then you start manifesting them through practices and tools. So organization will now say, we want to manifest Agile. Which of these practices will suit us as an organization? But most organizations have tried to go through Scrum. Then for tools, most organizations have tried to go through Jira. But some people use Asana because of, I think Microsoft or is it Azure. they use Asana, right? Because they already have that enterprise agreement, right? So organization will decide on the tools and the practices they need to do to emulate that agile mindset. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Dafa, can you please talk more on the 4 values of agile? So I think you have to watch the video, but I will summarize that. So what they're saying here, individual and interaction over process and tools. They prefer us to talk than us to just be looking at Jira and processes. They want us to talk to each other. They prefer to have meetings and discuss all the time. Working software, the product, that Salesforce you are building, is it working? They prefer us to have that Salesforce than you just writing documentation, business requirements, features. We want to do this, we want to do that. They prefer that there is a software, there's something that is working. Show us something. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. They prefer the customer for us to collaborate. I've just finished building the home page. Do you like it? No, you don't like the color. Do you want me to change it? Okay, change it. Let's collaborate. Every time it's not like, oh, if you don't like the color, this is the color you said you wanted. If you want to change it, let's go and change the contract, right? So they prefer those collaboration over contract negotiation. They prefer to respond to change, right? They prefer to respond to change, right, over a plan. Right. So what that means is that even if the change comes in late, they still want to change it, right? Instead of them saying that let's follow the plan. You said that you want it this way and you will follow that way. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's like a comparison.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Got it.
But they are not saying the one on the right is bad though. They're just saying that
I know. I got it. Thank you very much.
Okay. Can you please go back to the pie charts? Please ignore. Erica, do you have a question on the pie chart?
No, I just wanted to see it. It's fine though. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
That's
can see it. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
So Scrum is the most popular one, is the most used, and that's why we are doing a deep dive into Scrum, because I believe that if you understand Scrum, all the other ones will be fine. Even when you get to an organization and you see their internal, even if they created their own methodology internally, you still see a lot of elements of Scrum in it, so you'll be very comfortable. And sometimes if you get to an organization and they say something, and as long as it's not in the Scrum guide, just tell them that, oh, what does that mean? And they will tell you what it does, because you can tell them that, oh, well, maybe we call this something else in my organization or where I was working before. As long as it is not in the Scrum guide, you can ask questions, because at that point, you know that the organization has added something or they've tweaked something to the way they do their stuff. Okay. Okay, so this is just the same thing. So when you say Agile umbrella, Agile, you can see these are the different frameworks that you can use to practice Agile. You can use Scrum, you can use Kanban, you can use Crystal, you can use XP, you can use FDD Rock. So there are several approaches, right? Remember, agility is the state of mind, as I said, right? So there are different vehicles you can use to operate that space, right? And the one that is popular is Scrum, right? So like over 70%. So let's say Kanban, you see a lot of Kanban maybe in manufacturing companies and things like that, or production lines, right? So, but these are the two most popular ones, right? So now we're going to go deep into Scrum. Scrum is like an agile framework, right? So we'll go deep so that we can use that to explain agile. Okay, so let's do Scrum. Benita, is your hand up or that was from before?
Well, that was from before. I just lowered it down.
Okay.
Thanks.
So we want to talk about Scrum. So we'll talk about Scrum and Kanban. Okay. Then we'll now go deep into Scrum. Okay. So we understand that Scrum is one of the ways of implementing Agile, of showcasing that Agile methodology, Agile, right? So to say that we are practicing Agile, we're doing Agile, right? So I said earlier that in a popular game of rugby, right, a Scrum is used like to begin a match after a rule of violation, or maybe there's been an error or a foul. So you can see that everyone is coming together to actually get the ball, right? They are together like in a tight huddle. So their goal is to gain the possession of the ball, right? Which is in place, like in the opening between the two opposing teams, right? The ball is in between them, but they are not, it's not like number 6 is taking the ball and passing it to number 3. You know, in like football, you'll be passing the ball, or in a relay match, you're passing, right? But here they are working together, you know, to actually achieve that common goal of gaining possession of the ball. So that word Scrum, it was borrowed from the rugby game. So you can see here that they are being aggressive, trying to play the ball, like working together as one unit, right? So if you compare it to a race, it's different. You are passing to the next person, right? But that's not what Scrum is saying. Scrum is saying that let us have a cross-functional approach. Let us focus on advancing the common goal, right? That's what Scrum is saying. And Scrum was established in 1995 by Jeff Sunderland and Ken Schwaber, right? Those of them, they are the 2 people that started Scrum, right? And remember, we talked about Agile Alliance, and that is how Scrum Alliance started, right? Remember Agile Alliance from that Agile Alliance coalition, right? Now, they now said, oh, Scrum, we're going to use Scrum to actually practice this Agile. Then they started something we call Scrum Alliance, right? Now, so anybody that you see that have something like CSM, Certified Scrum Master, or Advanced Certified Scrum Master, all those kind of certification, CSM, they got that certification through something we call Scrum Alliance, right? And for you to, Scrum Alliance was like, I want to say something, they were like a cabal. You get what I'm saying, right? So for you to get that certification, you have to go through Scrum Alliance. What does that mean? You have to pay. They have selected trainers on the Scrum Alliance list that you have to pay to them for you to do a 2 days workshop. When you now finish that 2 days workshop, then they'll now give you like a small questions or test at the end of it. Then you pass it, then they will tell you that you have now a certified Scrum Master. Okay, so that is how Scrum Alliance works. Okay, and for you to do that workshop, that 2 day workshop, it's maybe like 900, 1,000. It used to be around 1,500, but I know a lot of discount now has been in place, and it's about 900, 1,000 if you get a good discount, right, or a good trainer. Now, Ken Schwaber now left Scrum Alliance. I think they had he wanted to make some changes or something, but you know, maybe they didn't get along. I didn't know the details of the story. Ken Schwaber now started another Scrum body. So that Scrum organization is now called Scrum.org. Now, because both of them, they are the co-founders of Scrum. So it's the same thing. What they are teaching in Scrum Alliance is the same thing that Scrum.org is teaching, right? But in Scrum.org, you don't need to pay for a particular trainer, right? You can even read it on your own. You just download the Scrum guide, read it, and go and write your exam. You go to Scrum.org website, you say you want to do your PSM, and write your PSM, Professional Scrum Master exam. So when you see someone that has a PSM, Professional Scrum Master, the person did Scrum.org. But when you see someone that has a CSM, the person did Scrum Alliance. Is the same, because both of them are based on the Scrum guide, right? And both of them the Scrum guide is both founded or co-written by Jeff Sunderland and Ken Schwaber. Okay? I hope that is clear. So you can finish this training and go to scrum.org, download the guide, read it, and pass your exam. This training will give you some experience in terms of the simulation. You understand how it actually works. Not that you just read the book and pass the exam, but you have an idea of how it works, and you can actually get a job. You have confidence to go for an interview, get a job, and start practicing it. Ima?
Okay, hi Florence. I was going to ask about the SMC, Scrum Master Certification. How about that one?
Yes, that's Scrum study. So Babantide has replied to you. That's Scrum study. You know, I told you that there are different variations. All those ones came after. But the people, if you want to do the exam from people that wrote the Scrum guide, for the people that started Scrum is Ken Schweber and Jeff Sunderland, and that's Scrum Alliance and Scrum.org. Scrum.org, you get a professional Scrum Master. If you do Scrum Alliance, you get CSM. If you do Scrum Study, you get SMC, Scrum Master Certified. But I don't know. These are other bodies that came on board right after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other question?
Yes.
Okay.
So all these Scrum variations, which one will you've been in this field for a minute, will you recommend you focus on? Or is it that if you take Scrum.org, for instance, it will give you the same recognition as the one from the Scrum Master,
the CSM
folks?
The Scrum Alliance, right?
The Scrum Alliance, rather, yeah.
The Scrum Alliance
which of this? Go ahead.
The Scrum Alliance was very popular in America. Like in those days, it was like, oh, if you don't have Scrum Alliance, you don't have anything, right? Obviously, because Jeff and Ken Schweber was together, right? But when they separated, I noticed that PSM has gained momentum, like it's gaining momentum a lot. I have CSM, but PSM has gained a lot of momentum. And I also noticed that if you work in an organization, like especially all this big organization, it's only two things you will see. Either you are seeing CSM or PSM. Those are the two ones you will see there, right? So those are the popular ones. Those are the ones that. But if you are okay, you do PSM. If you get into an organization and they are ready to pay for your CSM, you can go do it. You just take another 2 days for workshop and go do it. But if you are going to pay by yourself, do PSM, $150 and get it done. It has the same. Even if you Google it now, you will see. Just say which one is more popular. They will show you PSM is gaining recognition because those are the two people that actually wrote the Scrum guide, right? So those are the two I would recommend to you. But if you have money, you can go and do CSM, 1,015. But you can finish this training, take the Scrum guide, and get your PSM. They are both recognized.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Florence. Something I just wanted to add to what you said was that with the CSM, I believe that you have to recertify every 2 years.
Yes.
Yes, unlike the PSM that it has no expiry.
Yes, thank you, Jane. You have to pay $100. So I used to pay $100 every 2 years. And I still have to show my PDUs that are practicing Scrum. So yeah, thank you, Jane, for that. Mo.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Florence. Yeah, for the PSM, I'm just wondering, I noticed like divided into different levels, PSM 1, 2. So what do you think? Is it, do you recommend just writing one level or you have to complete the 3 levels before you can recognize that?
No, you just write the first level, PSM 1. For you to do the second level, I think you should have to show that you are practicing it or something for you to do PSM 2. So it's just PSM 1. PSM 1 is the same thing as CSM. So the next level of CSM is advanced CSM. There's ACSM, advanced. You understand? There's CP. There are 3 levels too. So CSM is the same thing as PSM 1. That's the equivalence. Okay? Baba?
Yeah, thanks again, Florence. Now, it's not necessary, just correct me if I'm wrong. Is it compulsory to take those exams? Because, frankly, some of us have been doing this for a while, and, I don't think anyone has asked me or questioned this. So I don't know. To me, it doesn't sound like, unlike maybe PMI, where it's now something that you have to show that indeed you have certification or something like that.
Even PMI, you don't have to show anything.
You don't have to show it. So if you are pretty comfortable in the industry and all that, you don't necessarily have to showcase it with certification. Is that correct?
Yes, you're very correct. If you're confident, you can just get the job. When you get to interview and you speak, they know that you know what you are saying. Nobody's going to ask you for PSM or CSM. Everybody just wants to know that you know what you are saying and you can help them when you get into their organization. You get? So, sometimes we just use certification to show that, I know this thing. I've actually done it. I know it. You understand? But it doesn't, I know a lot of people that did PSM and they still came from my training because they still don't understand it. They just wrote the exam, okay? So it's not compulsory you have the certification. Just know it. That's what is key. Okay?
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
So let's go on, right? So that is Scrum. So we'll go into Scrum details. But before we go into Scrum details, I want to talk a bit about Kanban. And we'll not start going into Scrum details. Okay? So what is Kanban? Kanban is also another way to implement Agile, right? So what Kanban is just saying is that is like is one of the lean methodologies as well, right? So you just want to improve the way people are working. You want to manage and improve the way they are working, right? So you are trying to balance what they can do against their capacity. You're saying that this is the work they need to do, but this is the capacity they have. So most time when people do Scrum, when the people do Kanban, they don't have a dedicated team. Those teams are also working on other projects or other items, right? So the team is not dedicated. So, but it's still that same team that will do the work, right? So what they do is they try to do like a visual process management system where they can make decisions, right? They can see what they are doing, that this is what we need to do, right? So now this is what is a Kanban will look like in entirety, right? They will say, okay, they have something they call, don't look at it like sprint backlog, just look at it like backlog. Think backlog. So they have something we call backlog. So in that backlog, they have all the details of the thing they want to do. They put it in the backlog, right? Then they now have all their visual board to show this is in design, this is in development, this is in testing. For this one, we are done, right? Now, what sets Kanban apart is that for Kanban, they have something we call work in progress limits. So, for example, look at design. They are saying that design, their work in progress limit for design is 4. So you cannot have more than 4 items in design. That's the work in progress limit. Presently, we have 3. So you can still add one more work from the backlog into design, right? Until it is less than 4, you cannot move any item into design. For development, the work in progress limit for development is 7, right? Until it is less than 7, you cannot move any work into development. And for testing, it is 4. So you keep moving the work. As the work is getting done, you keep moving from the backlog into each of the segments, right? But you have to follow that work in progress limits. So that's Kanban for you. It shows this visualization is like a pull system, right? You are not pushing anything, you are pulling. So as you are moving one away, you can pull again from the backlog to do. It's like you want to do PSM, you want to do Salesforce, you want to do BA, you want to do this, you want to do that. You have everything. You now have work in progress and say limits and say, okay, right now I'm doing Salesforce. When I'm done with Salesforce, I will pick, or I can't be doing more than 2 certifications at a time. Okay, I'm doing PSM, I'm doing Salesforce. When I'm done, then I'll pick in the backlog again, I'll pick PMP. You understand? So they have that, right? What are the things that you don't have in Kanban that you do in sprint, right? So for example, you don't use anything called sprints. They don't have a sprint. They don't have meetings. They don't describe or ascribe meetings. Sometimes you can just have one meeting in a week to show, okay, what are the work that has been done? What are the things we need to do and all that, right? And there's also that work in progress limits, right? So these are some of the things you do in Kanban, right? So when you now use this Kanban with Scrum, you do some things in Scrum, you do some things in Kanban, people now call it Scrumban, right? Now, you don't do estimation in Kanban. You don't estimate the work. You just pick item from the backlog and put it in the visual board and you continue to work it. But you have to focus on the work in progress limit. In Kanban, when you think Kanban, think of people that don't have like a dedicated team, right? You can't predict their allocation. You don't know when they will be less busy. Anytime they are less busy, they will come over here and do the work, right? So it's not a fixed thing, right? You don't have a fixed thing, right? So most times you see they use it in support system, in operation and things like that. Okay, Obi.
Thank you very much. My question is, you said something when you were describing the Kanban. You said under design, development and testing, you say until it's less than 4, like for design, for instance. Do you mean less than or equal to 4 or just less than 4?
When it is 4, that means you cannot move any item into design.
Okay,
when it's 3, you can move one item again to make it 4.
Okay, because I had less than 4. So I was like, okay, 4 inclusive of 4.
Yeah, 4.
Okay. And then also another thing I have a question, I don't know, it's this Kanban thing, right? Is a visual representation of what is going on maybe in a company or something, like an information radiator or something, right? I don't know what that is. Some of all these things, they've been existing since.
Yes, now. Yes, they've been. It's just becoming popular, and everyone's like, is the in thing. Let me just say that word. But if you have done a bit of manufacturing or productions or stuff like that, you'll have noticed you might have used all this before.
Exactly, because almost everywhere you go into an establishment, you see where they are going, blah, blah, blah. It's on the wall for everybody to see. They are taking their calls and what have you. So,
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Listener, you said, what does it mean when the PM says the backlog items are ready for grooming? Okay, so it's just saying that they've prioritized the backlog. They now want to do refinements with the team. So the product manager has discussed with the business. They now know what they want to do next, but they need to refine with the team to see if it's possible. They don't call it grooming anymore. They call it refinement. Okay? They've banned that. Not let me say they've banned. They've stopped the word grooming. Now they call it refinement. Okay? Who is responsible to implement Kanban? Is there a role for that? So in some organization, you have things they call Agile coach, Scrum masters. This is your responsibility. You look at the team. They'll employ you. They say Scrum master. You get there. You see that the team is not a dedicated team. The team, they are doing different things. You can tell them that, okay, for this part of the work, can we use Kanban? Because this team is not dedicated to this work. They have other work they are doing. Though you want me to manage this set of work, but we cannot use Scrum because this team is not a dedicated team. Or you look at it, that work that they told you to do, it doesn't have a timeline, right? There's nothing rushing us to quickly develop it and push it out. So why are you doing Scrum? So you can recommend a Kanban. An Agile coach who can do that, can look at the team and see the work they are doing and say, okay, Kanban will be better for you as a team. So those are the responsibilities of the Scrum Master or Agile coach. Okay. So some of the difference between Scrum and Kanban again, right? So we have roles and responsibility. In Kanban, there is no predefined rules. There is nothing like rules, right? There is a group of people, the team that needs to get job done. There's someone helping them maybe track the board, or the team can even be tracking their board themselves and they get things done, right? In Scrum, there's something we call Scrum Master, Product Owner, Developers. In Kanban, it can even be the senior manager, making sure the board is being tracked and everything is done, right? But in Scrum, you have a prescribed rules, right? Scrum Master, Product Owners, and Developers. Delivery time for Kanban is continuous. In Scrum, the most popular one is 2 weeks. Some they do 4 weeks and some they do 3 weeks, but the most popular is 2 weeks. So there's a delivery time, right? So, but in Kanban, it just continues. You keep pulling work. You've done this work, pull in the next work, and things like that. In Kanban, the cycle time, the amount of time it takes to complete one full piece of a project, that's what they look at. How long did it take us to finish this, right? But in Scrum, they look at the sprint velocity. Is the 2 weeks for a deliverable? Yes, the deliverable can be a piece of work, it can be an iterative item, it can be an increment. But at the end of 2 weeks, they expect you to deliver something. It can be in that 2 weeks, you are delivering a plan, but they expect you to deliver something, okay? That's in Scrum. If you are using a 2-week sprint, we have the 4-week sprint. I will show you those different type of sprint and what they expect to do on a daily basis. I will show you all that, okay? So in the key metric for Scrum, they use sprint velocity. Delegation and prioritization. Kanban, you pull in the new tasks, but you respect the work in progress limits. So when I say design 4, you have to respect that 4, right? If it's not less than 4, don't add more work, but you keep pulling work from the backlog. But in Scrum, you pull in a batch of work into a sprint. So you say, these are the items we are doing for these 2 weeks, and you focus on it. Sometimes, someone will come and say, oh, can you quickly do this work? Can you add this work to it? Scrum Master, it is your responsibility to shield the team, right? You have to have a way to shield the team. Who define the work in progress limit? The team decide on the work in progress limit. The team that are going to do the work will decide on the work in progress limit, and they can continue to improve it. Maybe when they finish a cycle time, they realize that, oh, we don't want design to be 4 anymore. We want to change the work in progress limit to 3 because we realize that they might have their reasons, right? They can also improve their processes, but the team decide the work in progress limits. Modification and changes. In Kanban, you can change. I said the changes are continuous. You can change, right? The work is just ongoing. You're just visualizing. You are showcasing it. In Scrum, continuous backlog. Yes, you can continue to update your backlog. Someone asked about grooming, right? That refinement. You can continue to refine your backlog. You can have a meeting to refine it. You can quickly look at it as a product manager to refine it. You can refine it. But within an active sprint, when a team sprint is ongoing, it is forbidden for you to be changing it. That this is what we are changing, what we are doing. It will happen. Your team members will frustrate you. They will say, okay, this one, we don't want to do it again. Can we move it back to the backlog? What I do is I'll say, okay, you don't want to do it. Let's flag it. They'll say, but we don't want it to affect our velocity. They say, but we've pulled it to the sprint. We'll have a reason why we didn't do it. Then we'll document the reason why we didn't do it. So you need to understand all these things so that we'll be able to preach it to them. Some things can be very difficult, right? So you just have to know, how to. That's why before you move anything to the sprint, you need to confirm with your team. Is there any dependency? Is there a reason why we won't be able to do this work during this sprint, right? You want to be sure, right, before we move it into the sprint, so that it's not when you start the sprint, someone will not tell you, let's move it back to the backlog. Really? When we started the sprint already? So you want to confirm. These are the questions you'll be asking as the Scrum Master. Okay, is there no dependencies? Is everything clear? Definition of ready. Is it ready? I will teach you some of the things you need to look out for your definition of ready. Is it ready? So can we actually get this job done before you now agree with the team that, okay, let's put it in the Scrum team. So as a Scrum Master, not that you just go there and be facilitating meetings by saying, set up calls, No, your job is not to just set up calls. You listen, you ask questions, right? You follow through, okay? Best application, Kanban. Best when tasks arise continuously, especially if many tasks are urgent. You see, as work is arising, you keep doing them, right? They are coming continuously. But for Scrum, is when the team can commit to a 2-week deliverable, when the team is dedicated to doing the work. Not like you start a 2-week sprint. Someone will not tell you that, I need to go and work in another team. They have one thing I need to help them develop. But you are committed to this thing, right? So it's better to use Scrum when there's that commitment, when there are things you need to deliver, right? And the team can commit to it. Any question? Ima, is your hands up for question? Nkiruka.
Hi, Florence.
Hello.
Yeah, you talked about shielding, the Scrum Master shielding the team.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any prescribed ways of shielding your team, or it's just based on your own your own assumption or the way you think you should, or based on how the team is organized, that will determine how you get them shielded?
Yeah, there are different ways you can shield the team. We are still going to do Scrum Masters and talk about the roles of the Scrum Master, okay? I will answer a question like this. So shielding the team, it can happen in different ways. It's even more difficult now that we are online, right? So for example, you're working, maybe one of your managers is sending an email. Let's say Adi, Afia, Baba Tunde Bakode, they are in the same, we are all in the same team. You are the Scrum Master. And maybe you have the product owner, Emma is coming, you have the work. Emma now says that, they want us to do something urgently, but you're already doing the team is already working. Emma can now be asking the team that, can we change what we are doing already? You are the one that will be saying, but Emma, you committed to the team to do this work. Can we move that work to the backlog? Can we prioritize it for the next sprint? You're talking to Emma, like you understand that this work is urgent, but can you let the team continue this work, or do we want us to cancel this sprint? Like you're speaking with Emma, or you see your manager sending an email. You can have a meeting with your manager to explain to them that, if you remove Riley from this meeting right now, this work will not be able to complete this work. Like you should be able to manage the team. You should be able to talk to these people and they will understand because they know that the team has committed to doing this work. And if they start giving them work, they won't be able to complete that work, right? So you notice your team member. Sometimes they will go directly to your team member. But when someone is saying that, I just want to give you an example, that it will take me, I'll use days so that you understand. It will take me 2 days to finish this work. You had your daily Scrum, day 1, he has not finished the work. Day 2, he has not finished the work. Scrum Master, you are not talking about. Day 3, he has not finished the work. Day 4, once you ask question that, what's up? Ade, why have we not finished this work? You mentioned that it's taking 2 days. Is there any impediment? Is there a reason why you've not finished this work? Ade cannot tell you that, it's Baba that gave me something to do and I've been working on it, so I've been unable to. I say, but you know that this is more priority. You've been committed to this team and all that. You can now say, okay, don't worry, I will discuss with Baba. You as the Scrum Master will go to Baba and say, Baba, you're giving Ade work, but Ade is committed to that work. And Baba, you and Baba can now negotiate that, okay, Baba, can you put in the next priority, of work and all that, so that Ade can finish the work he has committed for this sprint and all that. That's your role as the Scrum Master.
Okay. But what is a kickback? Maybe discussing that. What is a kickback?
There will always be a kickback. There will be some that will kick back. So when you are doing your reviews, these are the things you talk about. All the stakeholders will be present. You also keep admonishing them on why they cannot, give the Scrum team work because it's going to affect them, their capacity is going to do that. So you keep talking about that. And in retrospective, the team will also be giving you this feedback. So that is why the Scrum Master also has responsibility to the organization, because you need to let them understand what it means to have a Scrum team, what that means, what are the things they need to adhere to. Because the more they hear, the more they understand that, okay, we can't do that. And before you know it, they'll be coming to you, even when they have those kind of issues that, we need to do this urgently and all that. So if they come to you and say they need to, sometimes they will tell me there's something they need to do urgently. I look at my team, I said, this work needs to be done urgently. What can we do? Do you still have extra capacity? If they tell me no, they don't have extra capacity, I'll tell them that they will tell you that, can we remove this and add this? I'll go back to the product manager. Do you want to remove this? The team don't have capacity to do this new work, this urgent work you're talking about. Can we remove this? If they agree, we remove that stories or something. Say, we can't do it. This is what they want to do urgently. So situations like that will happen, right? So I'm not saying you have to be rigid. It will happen, but you have to protect the team. So what I mean by protecting the team, that you are not putting that extra work on them. You are removing something for them to be able to do that work, right? So you are making them happy. So that's your responsibility.
And all these, they're happening within an active sprint?
Yeah, it can happen.
Okay,
it can actually happen. Yeah. Any other question? Okay, so that's where we're going to stop this night. Tomorrow we're going to start the Scrum theory and go deep into Scrum, and hopefully we'll finish it by Thursday. Then we can go into simulations next week. Any other question? Are we good?
One quick question. Okay. So after this whole class, I believe you probably will direct us to some resources that will assist in passing the certification, or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, very good.
I have a document that I put together as well. I will give you the documents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Appreciate that. Thank you.
The document is just based on Scrum, okay? I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Great. Thanks.
Okay. I guess we're good. So I will let us have a good night rest, and we'll meet tomorrow. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you, Florence. Good night.
Thanks, Florence.
Thank you.
Good night now.
Good night,
Thank you very much.
Let me show you what we would do.
Thank you.